Welcome back to our YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. The whole world seems to have united against Samia Suluhu, the dictator, and the massacre that was meted on the innocent Tanzanians after Suluhu blocked the main opposition challenger, the Chama Chadema party leader Tundu Lissu, and leaders and the groups are calling upon the ICC to investigate the massacre that was meted on the people so that the court can take action against Samia Suluhu. And very many people seem to be excited because the Chama Chadema party called on the ICC and they are saying that more than 700 people were killed. Videos have really shown the cruel hands of the Tanzania police killing mercilessly people who are just but demonstrating. But the question is, will the ICC act? My position here, ladies and gentlemen, is that the ICC will not act. They have not even responded. And just the fact that Chadema party called on the ICC to act is not enough to believe that the ICC will storm. The ICC will not strike because just because the whole world and the Chadema party is calling upon the ICC to strike doesn't mean that it is enough to compel the ICC to come on or come for Samia Suluhu, because the ICC is an animal. It is a political court. Those who stand right with the powers that be are never touched. First of all, let me ask you, who are the major sponsors? Who funds the ICC? If you look at the list, you'll realize that the USA, which is not even part of the Rome Statute, is the one that is funding the ICC, and then followed, I think, by China and the group. Now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to tell you this. A few years ago, immediately after the Kenyan 2022 general election, the ODM party leader, the late Raila Amolo Odinga, led Azimio protest against what he thought was stolen votes. People were massacred. People were killed in broad daylight. And Raila, or rather the ODM, through their lawyer, Paul Mwangi, wrote a letter to the ICC. And they invited the ICC to investigate the killings. And they mentioned William Ruto and the then Inspector General, Japheth Koome, as the major suspects in that. What we saw was not the ICC coming to investigate what had happened. Rather, the prosecutor, Karim Khan, was invited for a function that was associated with William Ruto in the country, just to show the Azimio fraternity that there was nothing that was going to happen. To date, we have not been told whether the submission to the ICC, whether that letter had been withdrawn, but nothing happened. And so when I try to compare what happened and how people were killed during the Azimio protest and how people were killed in Tanzania, I know one life lost is just lives too many, but there was some loud silence on it. And I believe that that might happen with Samia Suluhu. I mentioned in my earlier video that Suluhu's predecessor, John Pombe Magufuli, began criticizing the Western countries, and they fell out, criticizing them of exploiting Africans in terms of their resources and minerals. He vanished. Mysteriously, Magufuli died. And then Samia Suluhu was elevated. And I believe from where I sit that Suluhu was a puppet. If you listen to some of the speeches of Magufuli, he was saying that the Western machination wanted a puppet that would continue allowing them to exploit resources without a power-sharing deal between the country, between Tanzania and those foreigners. So Suluhu is their puppet. And let me tell you, the ICC is a criminal court, but it is also a political court. They are the untouchables that can never go to the ICC. Now, in the event that pressure mounts so much and they begin investigations and send Suluhu to The Hague. And I think that cannot even happen because he is a sitting president. I don't know whether there is a sitting president that has ever been to the ICC. Saddam Hussein was hunted, and I think he was still sitting president, but it is because he had fallen out with the USA. If you fall out with the international community, they will take you to The Hague. If you are in good standing, you cannot be touched. Now, in the event that she gets to The Hague, I can assure you that that case will collapse. A good example is that of William Ruto, who is now the current president, and his predecessor, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the radio presenter, was also there. The former radio presenter, Joshua Sang, the former police commissioner, Ali. There were so many. All those cases collapsed. In fact, the tainted, or rather the suspect, William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta, went ahead and contested, and that election was rigged. Uhuru did his 2 terms. William Ruto is now at the helm of the affairs. So it is not very easy even to take Samia Suluhu to The Hague. And even if they do, that case will collapse just like the cases before them have collapsed. Number 2, in the event that Suluhu is taken to The Hague, I can assure you the ICC as a court lacks mechanisms to protect witnesses. We've seen cases where witnesses vanish, they are killed. And as we speak, we are told that Suluhu is busy burying evidences. The CCTVs are being picked from the shops that were around. They are picking dead bodies from hospitals to bury so that there's no evidence. The police has cautioned Tanzanians not to share any videos because that is going to be tantamount to some criminal case, and they have warned. So even if Suluhu goes to The Hague, unless the ICC protects witnesses, but from what we've seen, all those witnesses will be killed, and there will be very few people who will be ready to go and confess. So ladies and gentlemen, Samia Suluhu has been sworn in. I don't know who she's going to lead because the country is not with her. All the same, she has decided to be that worst dictator. I think the worst woman that maybe would be the first woman to be tried at The Hague, and she's been a disgrace to the women leadership. She has neutralized that urge because there was a sudden impetus where women were now being given opportunities to lead. In Kenya, for example, we have governors who are women, but now has really thrown the spanner into the works. People no longer believe and trust in women leadership because we thought that women, especially mothers, have got some empathy and sympathy towards our children. But now we were wrong because Samia Suluhu has just proved that even our mothers can be so cruel, can be so diabolic. There was this argument that being in the Muslim society, then or the Muslim region, then there's what we call halal. Halal is the opposite of haram. And we thought that they hate haram sana. Suluhu has proved that those halal and the others are just written on paper, but there is no practice. They are not realized practically. She's been ashamed to the Muslim world, ashamed to the women leadership. In as much as people are shouting and they really wish that The Hague strikes, I don't see it happening. I'm one of those doubting Thomases who would really wish that Samia Suluhu is taken to The Hague, tried, and thrown behind the bus to be an example to the other leaders. But I don't think that is happening. We've seen such worse scenarios even happening in Uganda. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has been there forever. People are being killed during elections. The opposition leaders are harassed, tried. Even today, just like Tundu Lissu is being tried with treason, Kizza Besigye is being tried with treason. Bobby Wine is ever beaten with all his supporters. The ICC has been damn quiet, and I don't think this is going to be different. As long as Suluhu still remains the darling of the Western countries, nothing will happen. What am I saying in a nutshell? Africans must find a solution to African problems. If we depend on the European Union, we try to look at the United Nations, the ICC, the US, the best they will do is to issue warnings and then maybe say that you need to follow the dialogue and reconciliation path. When they realize that push comes to shove, then they force a kind of handshake. That used to happen between Raila and the successive governments. When they realize that things are getting thicker, they can only force Samia Suluhu to shake hands with Tundu Lissu, and they will force Samia Suluhu to withdraw unconditionally the charges against Tundu Lissu. That is the best they can do. I don't think there is anything they can do. The dictatorship that is being witnessed in Africa is untold, whether it is in Rwanda, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, they have all been the same, and it didn't start yesterday. So I know people are really calling for the Hague, for the ICC to strike. It's not that easy, it's not very soon, but I'll be one of the very happiest to see that Suluhu is tried. I'm here to be one of the doubting Thomases and to let you know that we cannot depend on these foreign factors to help us solve our problems, because they also have their interests. They do businesses. As long as their interests are taken care of, people will continue to be butchered, they will be quiet, or they will just issue statements. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the ICC is quiet because they will do nothing.